So I'll invite the next speaker, Simon Worthington. He's from the LIBER network, and he's going to talk about how to gather citizens and upscaling citizen science in research libraries.
Great, thank you.
Is yours.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me well enough, or do I need the mic? Okay. A little bit better? Okay. Great, let's see if this picks up in a second. Great, thank you. Well, I'm super glad to be here. I'm glad to be invited, and thank you for the hosts and the community and for you attending. Yeah, lots of the presenters here have been answering questions I've been trying to get answered for ages, so it's amazing. Yeah, so I'm here representing the LIBER Citizen Science Working Group. I'm a researcher at the German National Library of Science and Technology, called TIB in Hanover. And my specialization is actually in building software for publishing from archives. So yeah, I'm connecting the citizen science bit there. Yeah, so let me get into things. Yeah, so really kind of unpicking the title. LIBER is the Association of Research Libraries, made up of 400 libraries across Europe in 40 countries, last time I looked. That's LIBER. And I'm really looking here at the question of how we make change. I think that's my kind of question. How do we do it? And hopefully you will see that that is what the Citizen Science Group is all about. Our group is made up of, we have 39 members, so people, and we're volunteers. It's a working group. It's like an academic working group. From LIBER, formed in 2019, and it very much responds to aspects from the LIBER organization, which is about its strategy. So LIBER looks to support the needs of the research and academic library community. So we tie into its strategy, and the aspect there is on research libraries as engaged and trusted hubs. So that is how do we make these connections to, people outside of academe. Our work's divided into three what we call strategic directions, and I'll be taking you through those. Yeah, what I want to go into is a little bit about how we do that. So I say how do you make change? And we very much see it as, our approach is knowledge sharing. We divide our audiences into two, so we need to look at the skills for the frontline library employee. Everything we do is about people in the library. But the leadership and executive teams need different things because we want to encourage them to support open science. So we need to make it make sense to them to help us doing our library work. So we go in with two approaches, and then we have platforms for delivering on this. So these are guides, masterclasses, workshops. That's what I'm going to take you through. Yeah. So I switch here to some comments about citizen science in general. Citizen science has been changing. I think, as you can see here, this is us taking from the 2018 strategy. So, key things remain there, but other things have changed. I think once people were searching for something that was a more tighter definition, so looking at citizen science must be participatory. It can't just be attending and learning. But I think people have become looser now and said, okay, there's so many different ways of doing it. Let's just relax a little bit about that. The other thing is, in terms of that changing face, is that GLAM and cultural aspects have taken a higher role we seem to see in the working group. And it's kind of natural in a certain sense because museums do these types of programs. That's what they do, and you can see it here with your cultural projects. Another aspect is the way in which things have changed. you now, as an academic library, a research library, have huge infrastructures that you can employ, and we're seeing them here. You wouldn't be doing these types of digital twin of exhibitions if you didn't have all those underlying technologies. And this is, another aspect. I mean, in a certain sense, it shows what, well, obviously people say, okay, citizen science, it's a pillar of open science. But open science itself has changed. We're now in the 3rd decade of it. Like in the beginning, it was like, wow, okay, we've got these digital networks, we can do things. Then it was like, oh, we don't have the infrastructure. So there was a long period of like building PID systems, what you see with Fedora and everything coming up here. Now we have those things, and we have a lot more we can do with them. And I think it's, it can be more about values now, and how we can move with them, and those are affecting citizen science. It's also a good idea to think about who you're doing it for and how can you enable citizen science to take hold. And an approach we have, and I think you can have different ways to skin this, but is to look at, is to think about the research library as the place that supports the researcher to do their citizen science. Because the library can be, if it becomes the place in the university, which it seems to happen, that it becomes the place that people can go to support citizen science, then it can be the institutional memory that helps that researcher come along and go, how do I deal with the legal aspects? How do I use your repository system to help me give attribution to those people taking part? So, keeping a focus on who you're doing it for. And also those projects will be really different. And hopefully, well, they'll be different, but hopefully over time there's some repeats and your library can help support that. And another aspect on citizen science is thinking about the difference between the public library and the research library. In the research library, we have very different things. And as I was talking about with open science and infrastructures, we have so much more. And so that can be a way to kind of reflect on what you are and what your capabilities are, maybe in skilling, in assets, but also maybe how you can bring those to the public library. And I think a few people here have talked about how, we maybe need different interfaces, because as research libraries, we were here and are here to support our researchers, our students, our academic staff, etc. So I want to switch again to what it is we do, back to the work of the working group, because we've got things here that hopefully, here for you, and we can, you can make use of. So the kind of question is, in our first part is about developing citizen science. So we're about to conduct a survey across Europe to look at what citizen science projects are there. So this is going to be a mapping exercise run by my co-chair, Alisa Martek at Zagreb University and National Library. Citizen science gets adopted in different ways. I mean, one influence can be the nature of the nation state you're in. You might have a unitary state, so there's a policy, like France has a citizen science policy, and you can pick it up and you will use it. If you're in a federal state, it happens differently. You have to build up your policies. So mapping has been one exercise, and some of our members have already been doing that nationally in Slovenia, in other countries. Let me try and exactly remember. In Hungary, Croatia, but we're trying to kind of build it up. I mean, these things exist in some other places too. As an example, so also that strategic direction organized cooperations. So we've run a couple of Erasmus Plus projects. This is one that I think finished a few years ago around citizen citizen enhanced and open science in Southeast Europe. This produced a number of reports that were looking at upscaling issues, recommendations, and so in a certain sense, we kind of got we've had we had a second Erasmus Plus grant, and so that's where what we've done within the working group has been able to be amplified by getting this kind of more capacity behind what we're doing. Moving on to our second part of what we do. This has been the area where we've been producing learning resources, really, in kind of different formats. A big part of this has been guides, so as publications. Another part has been webinars, and then a third part has been masterclasses for leadership and for executive groups. I think in all cases, we look to really reuse those best practice use cases, examples of projects, people sharing where they've had successes, or the kind of challenges. So we're really trying to make things that mean that, when you get tasked in your library to create a citizen science project for, say, kind of wearable health data, you're like, how am I going to do that? These are the kinds of questions people get. We hopefully are trying to share some of that, that previous experience. So one example of that is something that actually I'm the editor of. Has been a series of guides. These are focused on specific topics. Section editors have been recruited from a library where it's their specialization, and they come out as they're meant to be. They're compact. They're meant to be kind of actionable things that you can do. They're practical guides. And we've produced this series. We're now changing the approach, rather than being these bigger topics, to just being smaller, pinpointed individual things. It makes us a bit more agile. The third aspect, in terms of our strategic directions, has been it's been. Sorry, just let me get up on which one this is. It's been partnerships. So again, we're looking for to find audiences for what we do. The two partnerships we've had, the first has been between SciStarter, which is actually an American, very large-scale public library and public engagement citizen science project. And actually our guides really learnt from them. They produced a guide for public libraries, and we content share and the like with them. And the other has been with EXA, the European Citizen Science Association, and that's where we've partnered on one of the master classes with them, with their academy. So partnership has been our third part. I mentioned the master classes. We've run 2 so far, and these are for really so that someone can come along for one day. They're free. They're intended for leadership groups, and it's where they can get to understand the basics of citizen science, but also like thinking about how they might do strategic alignment. The other one was, the second one was online, and we have a third one planned for April 26 in Vienna, but it's very early days. So my colleague said, okay, let people know, but we haven't quite got there yet. I want to, that's the work of the Citizen Science Group, and I just wanted to mention a few examples of collections and citizen science from what some observations, I think, really. One was within the guide publications we made. the Open Science Officer of UCL Library in London edited this. And she took this approach, which is we let each of the guide editors take their own direction, and then we support them. She took this approach of trying to creatively think about the infrastructures you have and how would you redeploy them in a citizen science project. So really saying, how can I keep my budget down? How can I use what I've got? And so that might be about how what kind of attribution you give. How do you make use of those? How can you give access? And here, for example, she pointed on a number. She brought together a number of projects, and here you can see, valuable resources she collected together in it. And again, as you can see, it's about bringing together things that, give you that reassurance. Another one that I was really impressed by was co-led by a former working group member, Dr. Mia Ridge from the British Library. And she is a real she's written a lot, published several books on crowdsourcing and cultural heritage. But this book was especially intriguing because, well, one, they crowdsourced the book itself in a kind of closed crowdsourcing ways. They ran book sprints. But also, it was very sensitive to the question of cultural heritage and collections. Because they see that a lot of these cultural heritage collections can engage with very painful, difficult things from the past. It might be to do with indentured labor. It might be to do with slavery. Industrialization wasn't always nice to people. So it really sensitively addressed a lot of these issues. But also it was very forensic in how it's done. So it's a great learning resource. Not from our citizen science work group itself, but something I was really impressed with. And yes, so I'm here so I can get to talk about one of my projects too. I've got to have some kickback or benefit. As I said, my interest is in publishing from collections, but I'm doing a project at the moment which is looking at making IPCC reports go from a semi-structured document to a structured document, and then how you do citizen science projects around that. So at the moment, we've been working with biology informatics students, and they might become what we call a chapter champion, and they will do data analysis on the chapters, and then we use linked open data annotation, and I thought with your botanical gardens and herbariums, this is an interesting thing. And I saw, and just it just happened to see on a few days before getting here, really interesting publication by this person, Eduardo Barba Gomez, who looks at the Prado collection in Spain, in Madrid, and the botanical garden there. And so records the flowers in the paintings and then has made this book around them. And I was like, okay, things are coming together. But yeah, you can see how, citizen science projects can be really much different than, they're very different, they're very varied. I will wrap up here just to say, all of the things I've been talking about are, of course, open access. You'll be able to find the link for the LIBER Citizen Science Working Group, but we have the documents on the website. There's a good YouTube archive, and then a very excellent poster by my co-chair, who she told me, you've got to tell people about this great poster. It's in 9 languages, Italian too. And so I would just say, yes, thank you, and spread the know-how, and some credits here to my past co-chairs. And I'd like to say thank you.
Very interesting and very nice work. Is there any question? We have some time before lunch. Yes.
Simon, thank you very much. That was a really interesting talk. Just quite interested in your opinion on the relationship between, being that the conference is sort of focused on third mission or civic mission, the relationship between citizen science and third mission, because I've heard differing opinions on that from differing people to say that there's a nuanced difference, they're completely different, or that they're totally sort of, that you can't separate the two. So I'm quite interested in your thoughts on that. Also, where you were sort of explaining citizen science is very much about open science is about making it available to the public. Citizen science is helping them to participate. One of the really important things I think within third mission is allowing people to feel like they have some control or some input into things. So do you think it's a part of citizen science for people to be able to, or for the public, for the civic population, to be able to influence research and research directions within science?
Okay, yeah, great questions. Challenging questions. Thank you. The first point, yeah, it was being kind of suggested to us as our working group that maybe we should think about changing our scope, our name, to be about being participation in science in terms of public engagement. And well, we were kind of like, our group said no, that's bigger than what we're doing. So I think that's kind of what I was trying to say at the beginning. I mean, I don't have a complete answer to your first question, that's for sure. But what I have seen is that we needed to actually get away from needing to define things, and because it was actually just kind of, I think people were quite obsessed by that, by having the definition. Okay, everything's okay, I've got the definition. Hey, and what we were finding was it would exclude people. So even just using the word citizen science, you know, do you have to be a citizen to be involved in something? No, you can be a human being, even down to those nuances. So actually we shied away. I think that only explains how we've reacted. I don't have a kind of full answer to your question. And the second point, I think the public are totally excluded from determining what happens with infrastructures. That is publishers and industries, and actually, you know, some of the, you know, what they call bad incentives for researchers. I mean, that is what open science needs, is part of trying to address, depending on your opinion, or view of open science. I think the public is completely excluded, you know, from that, from determining those things. Are they allowed to set research questions? No, they're not, are they? We would invite them. We want that to be a part of citizen science. So I think, yeah, a lot of work has to be done there, especially if you really want to have trust by the public. If you want trust, they've got to have real, tangible results from them giving their trust. And I think we've got a lot of barriers to that. Yeah, that's why I said they're very difficult questions, yours. Thank you.
Thank you. One quick question before we close this session. Okay, so great. Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you again.